right, guys, we're gonna talk about topwaters. I got the topwater question. I should be thrilled. I am thrilled, don't get me wrong. Like, if there's anything I want to talk about more than anything in fishing, it's topwaters. But I'm shocked. I was really shocked. I was like, really? I got a topwater question? I was shocked because this. I thought there's no way. I've done more videos on topwaters than probably anything. Maybe not specifically topwaters, but all the fishing videos, all the tournament videos I've ever done. I swear I catch one on topwater in every single tournament series video I've ever done. Maybe I'm wrong, but I mean the whole Alabama Waters series, and that's all topwaters. On my private channel, when I did, let's see, Deep Blue, and now I'm doing Headstrong Waters. Topwaters are in both of those. So I mean, I just figured the topwater. I mean, y'all know how much I love to throw my popping perch, right? And a sexy dog, and yeah, I was just shocked. But we're gonna do a topwater video, okay? I'm going to do one and try to explain it the best way I know how, and where I think people kind of view it the wrong way. I think that's the problem. People view it the wrong way. I think I'm gonna have a bunch of clips in here from all over the place, from years past and whatever, and I'm doing that on purpose. I don't want to just have, you can't just have me go out there and throw a topwater tomorrow, because if I did that, it would just show tomorrow's topwater fishing, right? Just like one thing. But topwater should be everything, different times of the year, different topwaters, all this stuff. And that's what I'm trying to do, is I'm trying to bring all this into one short video, right? You know how I always talk about big picture, little picture? This is the big picture. And then all my other videos from here, just look at it as the little picture, like the little things that we got out of it. So that's what we're gonna do. That's what we're gonna talk about. I will probably have all this stuff too in the description. Anything that I talk about or show, you know, that way you can get any of this stuff. Like, there'll be links there in Omnia. You can go look it up if maybe you were wondering what color it was, stuff like that. Setups, no matter what it is, right? Because I'm gonna have my setups in here too. So here's the thing. I can basically, I thought about this for a while. I think I can have basically all topwaters summed up in about 5 topwaters. That's all I really need, okay? Of those 5, I think there's 2 that are probably the main ones. Like if you had to give me 2, I've got 2. A third one is right there, but I don't think it's as consistent. But 2, you can give me these 2, and on every lake in the country I can go catch fish off of. The third one's right there, but it's just not as consistent. Like, I think it's more of it's a time and place or whatever. And then the other ones all work too. I just don't think they're as consistent, because remember, it's not about necessarily catching fish on a topwater, right? And I know that sounds crazy. Yeah, this whole video should be about catching fish on a topwater. I can get bit on every single bait that's ever made. Like, you can catch a fish on every bait ever made. Doesn't mean it's the right bait to throw. That's what we're trying to dial in, guys, is what's the right bait to throw and why, and then why I'm actually doing it. Not just to catch a fish, but what I'm trying to accomplish over a day, a week, a month, things like that. So let's take a look at least the top 2 I have, and then we'll go on from there. All right. I'm throwing my popping perch and frogs, right? My popping perch, my pad perches. These are like ones that, like, I'll throw for a little bit, or they might even be messed up. I'm trying to find one that's messed up or something. If someone cut that one, I don't recommend that. But when I say messed up, you know, I've thrown them a whole bunch. I probably wouldn't fish a tournament with them, but I'll practice with them and stuff. Like, they've just been eaten up, you know, who knows what, just a whole bunch. If I throw, like, they almost all have line on them, if you notice. So, like, but I probably wouldn't start a tournament with one. Maybe that one. That one looks pretty good. Okay. Second is this. My sexy dogs. Every one of my sexy dogs just look. If you look at any of them, they're just beat up. You can tell the chrome ones don't even have any eyes anymore. Yeah, I throw them. Let me see I've got so many of them like this, right? It's got hooks on them. You can see all the teeth marks. They don't even have hooks. They're bent in. So So I've got one like that, got one without hooks. I'm pretty sure, unless I've got it tied on, I usually keep one of each. Like I'll keep one, I'll keep a clear one, I'll keep a chrome one, and I'll keep this oyster one. I usually have 3 of them that have been in hooks like this. Because the thing with this is if you are gonna go practice, they work a lot better with hooks on them, and so I just bend them in. And one of them's probably on my rod, my other rod, somewhere. So I got some splashes in here, but I don't necessarily use the splashes as much, usually because I'm trying to cover water is really what's going on. But hey, real quick, I'm gonna have my setup of my like sexy dog setup and my pop and perch setup. I'm gonna have that later on in the video. If not, if you want to go look at it, look at my description, has it all there. All right, back to the video. I'd say there's a couple more, right? After you get the pop and perch in the sexy dog, that's my 2 major ones. Right underneath that is some type of plopping bait. The Whopper Plopper and the Chopo. Strike King now makes one, or we have a side company that makes one like the mock baits, and they have one, and I've been throwing it a little bit, messing with it. So I'll throw those. I'll throw those usually over a buzz bait. I don't know, there's a long history. Like I was a buzz bait guy for years and years and years and years, right? I was that guy. And then I had one of the worst runs with a buzz bait, mainly of Texoma. But I had like these runs where like they were missing my buzz bait so bad. And I just got, I stopped throwing it. And I started throwing a wake bait more, right? And so I was throwing wake baits, and I just got off the whole buzz bait thing. And I threw buzz baits for years. And we're talking years and years and years ago, like 15 years ago. And I threw wake baits and some swim baits. And then the ploppers came around, and I started throwing that. And I have not ever really switched back to the buzz bait. I don't know, man. You put all those treble hooks on a popping style bait, I'm gonna throw those more. So I threw in a couple more, right? So if you've got those 2 and the plopping style baits, I don't really throw buzz baits, but I kind of consider that almost the same thing. Actually, we got something coming out. We've been working with something with Strike King that's gonna be pretty cool about something totally different. I've been throwing it, and maybe this will bring new life to my topwater game in a different area, but that's maybe for next year. Anyways, if you bring in that and you're bringing in like a swim bait or a wake bait style bait, those are the topwaters I throw. I mean, that's pretty much it. I can get by with everything on that. I've got tons of videos all on those. And basically what you got is this. I'm either trying to cover water, okay, or I'm trying to entice a fish. And what I mean by entice a fish, that's where I'm gonna throw more of like the frog. The frog is gonna be more of enticing a fish because I can work it and do things with the frog that I can't do with any of them. I can put a frog anywhere. I can throw that pop and perch. I mean, I can throw videos out there, but I mean, I don't know how. I bet you I got 20 videos on here about me throwing a pop and perch, skipping a pop and perch. Yeah, I don't know how many videos I got on that. The sexy dog is kind of the same thing, except I can cover more water with it faster, but it's still more trying to entice bait. The other ones are like covering water type deal. Sometimes they don't want that, you know, like that kind of movement, or I'm just trying to cover lots of water and I'm trying to, you know, that's pretty much it. When you talk about the art of topwater fishing, I started topwater fishing when I was really young on Lake Livingston, and I would go get all these baits from a buddy of mine who was a sales rep for Lure Jensen. So he used to give me all these different baits, all these crazy topwater baits, and I used to go fish them every single day. Like I'd go get some and go try them out the next morning. And so I always was just, man, the topwater bite was like the coolest bite. Morning, if you notice what I said, morning, I just went through them every day in the morning time. I heard one time when I was really young and stuff went out that this, you know, I thought I knew a lot about fishing, right? I thought, like, yeah, I mean, I topwater fish here. In the summertime, I go through a worm, and I go out there deep, and I do all these typical things that's what I had been told as a kid. And I remember going out and by this marina that I lived on, and there's this kid out there, and it's dead sunny, right? Dead sunny, and or it's this, I don't know, it's a kid and his dad, I don't know which one, but he's out there throwing it at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, dead sun, calm, a topwater. And I'm like, nah, poor guys, you know, don't know what they're doing. And yeah, they caught one. And I was going, you know, they would catch one, right? Like typical, you know, it's just what happens, you know. And I just wrote it off. As I started getting older and I started going to different lakes, man, I started kind of messing around with that topwater more during the middle of the day. Then I started realizing that I didn't really know much about topwater fishing. I was like everyone else, just go out there in the morning and throw it. And what I do now is, there's not a day just about that I won't go throw one. And I've learned so much about it, that it catches fish, I wouldn't say all year long. Like, I can't catch it when it gets super, super cold. When I mean super cold, like, I mean, I don't really even like throwing one in the 50s. Now, granted, I live down here in Texas. And so my understanding is the further north you go, the colder they'll eat a topwater. So I mean, 50 down here is like, they're like frozen to death. Like, they don't even move down here at 50 degrees. They don't like that. Like, when it starts to hit 55 down here, I can start throwing a topwater. 58 is even better, right? And so I've had some videos out there where you'll see me in the pre-spawn catching giants on a frog usually. So I've learned that part of it. I've learned how far they'll go into the winter time. You know, November, December down here, they'll still hit a topwater. And then I started learning the days about, you know, you obviously need the warm days in the winter, but you also need the warm days on the other winter. Like, sometimes as it starts to get into November, December, and it's gotten a little bit colder, and you get a couple sunny, warm days, right? The sun is your friend sometimes on the cold months. It's crazy how the clouds is what everyone thinks you need in the summer months, which is true. However, there are times in there where they don't care. Like sun or clouds, it doesn't matter to them. They're going to be hitting a topwater. Sometimes they need the sun. It's crazy. What'll happen is certain times of the year that sun's out there and it brings the shad up, which will bring the fish up, right? All these things happen. And what I've learned is that topwater fishing, I think 9 times out of 10, most people are trying to only do it in the morning time. And there is usually a lull sometimes. There's a lull almost every day after a certain point. But a lot of times it picks back up again, right? And so I'm always trying to figure out what that time is when it picks back up again. And usually it's later on in the day. And I'm not talking about evening times, but more in the middle of the day. So to me, the art of topwater fishing is this. It's not that hard. You can do it down the bank, right? So you don't have to have all these crazy electronics. You don't have to have any of this stuff, right? You just need a bank or shallow water. Now, I'm not saying you can't catch them out of deep water, but what I'm saying is you just need a bank or really shallow water and go topwater fishing and just start throwing baits out there. The sexy dog basically works almost everywhere, constantly, nonstop, on every lake you'll ever go to. The frog, I would say, works even more just because it's weedless, so I can throw it more places. Now, with that being said, what are the drawbacks? The only drawbacks really are topwater fishing. They miss topwaters, right? That's a problem. It doesn't matter. I get so many questions about, hey, they're missing my topwater, they're missing my frog, what should I do? Listen, guys, you're asking a fish to come up and hit something on top of the water and eat it every time. Go watch videos. Watch all those really, really cool videos, in the slow motion videos where they're releasing or throwing shad in really clear ponds and things like that, and you'll see these fish come up there live bait, like they know they're not going to get caught, right? My bass I used to have, my tank was like that. You would throw stuff in there and they come up there and miss it. Like, it just happens, right? I mean, they're not perfect. So I mean, a lot of times they miss it. There's few times, like sometimes color matters, sometimes the way you're working it, but you just got to know you're going to have a miss. It's just part of it. Good thing is usually that if you're getting misses, you're getting bites, right? And that's a positive thing. Now, the good thing is this: topwaters catch giants, and it catches a bunch of fish, and it catches fish no one's ever fishing for. So I do it all the time because I know I can go behind most people and go do it. So to me, the heart of topwater fishing is just getting out there and doing it. I think people throw it for the first hour and then they put their rod up and don't do it anymore. I think they're trying to do it in spots. I don't think they're covering enough water. What you're doing is trying to find an active fish. That's all you're trying to do, is find an active fish. You're rarely like gonna convince one to come eat one. And what I mean by that is, you know, you're not gonna throw a shaky head down there or a drop shot, put it in front of their face for a long time. Like, you're finding fish that are active. They want to come find something and eat something. So that's why I throw it. So I think people just don't cover enough water with it. And like I said, then once they do, they put it up and it never leaves the deck of their boat or their rod locker for the rest of the day. Now, I haven't been doing this in my videos, but I will. I will on 2 of them, okay? Because if not, it'll take forever. This is what I'm throwing. I'm throwing a Lew's Signature Series rod. I've thrown topwaters on a ton of rods. I have some rods by Lew's, and usually I just pick up some 7-foot rod, okay? It's usually kind of light. It's usually not that stiff or whatever, and it's like all-around rods or medium action rods, like something that doesn't have, because I'm throwing all my topwaters. Let me think about this. Every topwater I mentioned, I throw on braid, okay? So that's why I go with a really, really light rod, and I go usually something like a 7-foot. I'm also tall, but I would never go anything less than that, because I like the feel of when I get one on, like when I catch one. The shorter rod, I don't have as much play with it. Like, the longer rod gives you more of a play, and so I want to get away with as long a rod as possible. This is their spinnerbait target casting rod, okay? Yeah, I don't know. I started throwing this a couple of months ago. It's a lot really close to the other videos I have of me throwing 7-foot rods. That's what I'm throwing it on. I throw almost all my rods with braid on the Super Duty, the 300. So that's what I got. This is actually 50-pound Sunline plasma. I throw, like I said, I'm throwing all my topwaters on braid. I can do 30. The problem with 30 is this. This is what I found. 30's okay. I can't figure out why. 30's okay, but the lighter line you get, the skinnier the diameter with braid, it does some things, right? It's easier to get, like, hooks get in it. It frays easier. When you hook one on braid, it tends to dig more. I don't know. And then I was trying to figure out why I wouldn't throw it on 50. Like, I can't see a reason why I wouldn't throw it on 50. Like, I've never had a problem with it. So I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna stick with 50 from here on out. When I'm throwing that, you know, a plopping style bait, wake baits and stuff, I can kind of go back and forth on braid or fluoro, but for the most part, you know, braid on everything except maybe a wake bait. Now, my pop and perch rod. This setup is different in the sense of, I don't know. I just think most guys don't throw the right rod when they're frog fishing. That's me. I think they're throwing rods that are really good for 2 to 4 pounders in open water. I do not think they're throwing rods made for 6 to 8 pounders, maybe even 10s, and really heavy cover. So I don't throw a light rod. I throw a 7'3" heavy, extra heavy rod. Okay, this is it. I had Lew's actually make me one special because I didn't think they had one that was stout enough for me. I throw it on 60-pound, nothing less. It will, like 60-pound plasma. In all the years I've been doing it, I've never broke off 60-pound plasma from Sunline, and I'm still Super Duty 300. Okay, I've gone over the frog fishing 1,000 times. I'll say it again. I want a rod that can stick them. Here's the thing, if I throw that frog as far as I possibly can and one blows up on it in thick cover and it's a giant, I want to catch that fish. That's why I use a stiff rod. And what I mean by stiff, like, it's still got some give, right? In the sense of it'll still bend, right? It'll bend, but it's not like those old school rods that are just broomsticks. It's got some bend, but a lot of guys have switched to this little kind of medium heavy. Man, I don't know. I've caught a lot of big fish on frogs and a lot of nasty stuff. So I don't know. I just, it's a big hook on that frog, on that popping perch. There are big hooks on all frogs. I'm trying to drive it through. Weird spots, because when you catch one on a frog, they're all over the place, right? Because that frog gets in there and it's not, it hooks them anywhere. So you might get them in the head, all kinds of different places. Could you rip one out? Possibly. But I think for everyone that you rip out, you'd miss 3 or 4 because you didn't hook it good enough in really thick cover. And I'm not trying to fight this fish, guys. I'm trying to freaking smoke on him and get him to the boat. So that is my setup. Those are my topwaters. That's my philosophy on topwater fishing. And hope you guys enjoyed it. See y'all.